Welcome back to the Departure Lounge, everybody. Today we have a special guest, Terry Spalding, General Manager of Cataloochee Ranch, a historic mountaintop ranch resort in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. Terry brings decades of experience in luxury hospitality with a career that spanned the Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, San Ysidro Ranch, and other celebrated properties. In 2024, he joined Cataloochee Ranch to lead its relaunch after an extensive renovation and its debut as a Relais and Châteaux property. The ranch, originally founded in the 1930s, combines rustic authenticity with elevated comfort. They have horseback riding, hiking trails, family-friendly cabins, and an exceptional regional dining at their Switchback Restaurant. Under Terry's leadership, Cataloochee is redefining what it means to offer rustic luxury in the heart of the Smoky Mountains. Terry, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Stephen. It's an honor to be on. I appreciate it.
Where are you joining us from today?
I am in the mountains of Western North Carolina. So, Cataloochee Ranch, about 4,500 feet elevation, and we literally back up to the Smoky Mountain National Park. So, I'm up here in the Smokies at the top of the mountain.
That's amazing. So I'm sure you have a great view behind us in that window right there.
Yes, sir.
You've had an amazing career, it sounds like, across high-end hotels and resorts. What drew you from the city and coastal luxury properties to a mountain ranch in North Carolina?
Well, that's a great question. My wife and I have traveled extensively in our careers. We're both in luxury hospitality, and we made the trip together from Seattle, Washington, or Woodinville, Washington, out to Sedona, Arizona. We worked there for a few years at a beautiful property called Enchantment Resort and Miamo Destination Spa. And we had an opportunity to come to the mountains of, at that time, East Tennessee, the Blue Ridge Mountains, to work on another project. And after we had completed that portion of our careers, we had this incredible opportunity to join Cataloochee Ranch, just a few months before the grand reopening. Something we could be really proud of. So we stuck around, found a home here in the mountains, and just absolutely love it.
That's awesome. Do you find time to enjoy the trails yourself, or is it all operations these days?
No, man, I'm hiking every weekend.
Okay.
We our home is right across from the Pigeon River. We're very close to the Appalachian Trail. I have two rescue pitties that we take out on the trails just about every weekend, and that's their happy place.
That's awesome. So what was the transition like for you as you rejoined them, right as they're relaunching? What were your first priorities?
The team. The first priority, there was the owners and proprietors, a wonderful couple, Annie and David Colquitt out of Knoxville, Tennessee, that own another property here that just by coincidence is on another mountain range about 2 miles away. So we have these two incredible properties under that same ownership portfolio. But for me, it was coming in at the latter stages of development and working with the managing director, the owners, the general contractor, architect, and then really an emphasis on building the team and positioning this asset, this destination within our community as one that everyone can enjoy. There was a funny story. Instead of doing a traditional job fair like you see when opening a big hotel or a big company, sitting
Yeah.
across a desk from somebody doing an interview, we wanted it to be different. So we threw a huge party for our community here
Oh, wow.
and invited those locals, those ladies and gentlemen that live in Maggie Valley in Western North Carolina, who may or may not have had a property of this caliber in this community. So we wanted to show the service and share this new type of hospitality with the community. And for those ladies and gentlemen who were interested, after coming to our party, listening to some live bluegrass music, Chef did a whole hog out there, and
Oh,
we
nice.
we served the community in that luxurious, intentional, authentic way. And then ladies and gentlemen who wanted to be a part of it, boy, they came back the next day and chatted with us and walked the property. And so there was less traditional interviews. There was more of a, Stephen, what would you be great at here at the ranch? What would you be passionate doing? And how can you contribute to the legacy of this property? So
Pretty
for me, that was the huge emphasis right off the bat. Staffing this property with a team of people that were either well seasoned in luxury hospitality and authentic travel,
yeah,
or ladies and gentlemen in our community that add to that history and legacy of this property that wanted to be involved.
that's cool. You worked for some of the most popular brands and big names like the Ritz-Carlton, for example. What have you learned from them that you're now using as you manage Cataloochee?
That's a great question. I learned a ton. Ritz Carlton, Four Seasons, all the big box, Amon properties and Rosewood. These properties taught a lot of structure, and they are fully committed to the service standards that have sentiment behind them. So the one kind of consistent thing, whether it's Forbes 5-star standards or Relais Châteaux standards, these are standards that make people feel something rather than just, yeah, my room's clean, I have lovely sheets, the dinner was nice. These are standards that are meant to elevate the experience so that someone feels welcome, valued, and eager to return. And so at Ritz-Carlton and Four Seasons and Rosewood, we practiced Forbes standards, and those were all 5-star properties or working towards 5-star property standards. And that was a very structured way to learn it, teach it, and practice accountability with our team. Whereas working at independent boutique properties, we have a lot of the same standards. They're just named something else. So
Yeah.
like Forbes standards would say when a guest is 10 feet away from you, you wave and smile and make an introduction. We say, show me, you know me, and the Cataloochee wave. So they are consistently these top tier industry leading standards, just with a fun ranch name and spin, and culmination of my career kind of all wrapped up into one authentic standards that we have here.
I just went out in Montana with my dad fly fishing, and we stayed in a ranch style property, but it wasn't luxurious in a way. It was more like bare bones. So can you explain like the difference between like what is Cataloochee to doing to bring the luxury experience to a ranch type environment?
Absolutely. We pair it, the adventure, the authentic experiences like horseback riding and roping and hiking in the Smoky Mountain National Park. Um, we pair those experiences with luxurious accommodations, fine
Hmm.
dining, and exemplary service. So everything, this is intentionally a small property. We have 18 accommodations currently that are made up of freestanding cabins and or a large lodge where a whole family could take over. By the end of the year, we have 12 more accommodations that we're adding for a total of 30. So it's a small group of people that are here at any given time. And some of the larger properties, 1,000-room property, nobody at the front desk is going to remember your name and where you came from. It's your anniversary, what your preferences are, the types of mini bar you'd like in your room even. It's going to be much more transactional and much more generic.
Yeah,
And this small luxury model, almost guarantees that we have this intentional, authentic, exceptional service paired with all the rustic adventure that someone would want. All the cabins, well, 11 of them are original cabins from 1933 that we did a total renovation to everything from decor to plumbing to all the modern amenities that a discerning luxury traveler is looking for. So big freestanding bathtubs, frette linens, heated floors, fireplaces, luxurious robes, bath amenities that are locally made and high quality. Um, but really, it's this rustic, authentic sense of place that's paired with service and luxury.
very cool. Very cool. It for a typical guest coming into this property, what does a perfect day look like for them? Walk us through their experience.
Perfect 2-day itinerary or perfect day itinerary. You arrive, we this may sound silly, but when you arrive, you're greeted by the whole team out there waving and welcome in, welcome to the ranch. We've been expecting you, Mr. Thiel. Where'd you come in from? How was the trip? Here's that glass of Prosecco that you love or champagne that you love. We know a little bit about you, right? Maybe the song that you proposed to your partner with in Mexico 10 years ago is playing over the loudspeakers. So there's an intention behind the welcome and every guest touch point. Um, so the perfect day you arrive, you have this warm welcome, complimentary beverage, and a tour of our property. And mainly those tours will take place on foot for the um, kind of the hub of where everything's located. But then we jump into a luxury enclosed UTV, a Polaris Ranger, and we drive around the property, 800 acres, to show you the waterfalls and the hiking trails and where our Black Angus cattle roam free, where our horse herd roams free. So you get an immersive welcome to the property. And then I think, a nice lunch in the restaurant. Switchback serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And lunch, we offer a little bit more casual service period, but with refined ingredients and elevated techniques. So, for instance, we have a pizza on the lunch menu that has shaved and aged Mangalitsa pig or pork product on it from a local farmer about 20 minutes away from here. The pizza dough is fermented for 4 days to ensure that the glutens break down and that it doesn't upset someone's stomach. We use spring mountain water from here on property in the Smoky Mountains to mix that dough. So this isn't your run-of-the-mill pizza. This is an elevated experience in the restaurant. And I think we can get you checked into the cabin, let you relax and enjoy a little bit of downtime after traveling, and then perhaps an afternoon activity, whether that's a guided horseback ride with our wranglers. Uh, the the cowgirls, the wranglers that manage our equestrian program. One is the granddaughter of the original founders of the ranch, Tom and Judy Alexander. So we have this family lineage, this pride that comes with that. Our guests hear the story of growing up on the ranch and the transition that it's made. So I would suggest that horseback ride, maybe followed by a ranch arts activity where we work leather like you did 100 years ago, or we have thrown pottery wheels in this beautiful art studio where you can craft a cowboy hat coffee mug to take home. We'll glaze it for you and send it home to remind you a few weeks later.
That's cool.
And then I think you'd wrap up with a lovely dinner in Switchback. Dinner is definitely a fine dining experience, but approachable. This is an old sheep barn that was converted into this stunning dining room. Uh, Often accompanied by live music. We have Grammy Award-winning bluegrass artists that are here weekly. We have square dances and we have storytelling and different things that accompany that supper dinner period. And then maybe, cap it all off with marshmallows out by the fire.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like an amazing day. All the activities that people do, what do you see as the favorite thing for your guests?
I think that the horseback riding is indeed the biggest draw to our property. Being horseback in the Smoky Mountains and these 100-mile vistas that we have being this high up is definitely a once in a lifetime experience. Um, And the ranch arts that we have here are phenomenal. They're rewarding. These are opportunities to be adventurous, but to do so in a little bit more contained environment with expert-led courses. Throwing pottery on a wheel, not only is it romantic and fun, but you have this treasure that you take home with you that you can share with others and say, "Hey, I made this at Cataloochee Ranch, and you should too."
Right. That's a cool souvenir, one that you actually made.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the restaurant, Switchback. How did that come about? Was it always named Switchback? And how did you source the chef for that?
Switchback is an incredible elevated dining experience. We want it to represent local flavors, so the majority of the ingredients are within not even a 20-mile radius. All the produce is coming from a farmer in Asheville called the Culinary Gardener that only sells to restaurants. Um, so our approach of the restaurant is elevated service with a humble, authentic feel and elevated cuisine and ingredients. Chef Jeb Aldrich is our executive chef. He comes to us not only from the Southeast with incredibly successful and wonderful restaurants in Atlanta and Charleston, but he studied abroad and worked abroad in Italy. Uh, and so he brings some of that Italian influence to dining. There are homemade fresh pastas on the menu every day that might accompany a local Canton, North Carolina sunburst trout or the Magdalena pork that I spoke. Those are those little furry pigs that are so cute. Um, and he's put his own spin on rustic, elegant Appalachian dining.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
seasonal ingredients. We have ramp patches on property that would rival anywhere in the state or the region. And our team goes out and actually forages those ramps or gooseberries or elderberries or mushrooms. And so there's definitely a local flair to the cuisine, and service is elevated. You're serving us the story of each ingredient, and you feel like you learned something. You gave back to the community, and you're nice and full and experienced not only exquisite dining, but we have one of the state's only advanced sommeliers on the floor, and she's curated, uh, level one sommeliers of the majority of our service staff. So these are people that not only can serve exquisite cuisine in an extraordinary environment, but can pair part of our award-winning wine collection with that and take you through a tasting.
That's awesome. Lots to do, it sounds like over there.
Indeed. The real cherry on top, Stephen, is that we have re-energized and reintroduced the Black Angus cattle program that was here almost 100 years ago. We have a cattleman called Trey Skyer that is raising Black Angus cattle on property and promoting and growing that herd, who, after an incredible life cycle, end up being served in the restaurant.
Oh, wow. So you guys almost source your own food right from the property. That's awesome.
We do. There's an emphasis on gardening on property, on sourcing ingredients, but the Switchback has an elevated steak program uh, that comes right from property. You see those guys out the window.
Yeah, that's great. That has to be amazing to get steak that fresh.
It is. It's amazing to serve a steak that fresh and to educate our guests. Most people are three generations removed from actual agriculture work, and Trace is somebody who comes from a line of teachers, and so he chose to go into cattle management and our entire agriculture program, but he has this passion for teaching. So every day about 5 o'clock, he takes our guests out to meet the cows, to feed them, to experience and educate them, and boy, everyone loves it.
That's cool. Yeah, you get to see how the ranch works as well as experience it at the same time.
Yes, sir.
I want to touch on conservation a bit. The ranch sits on hundreds of acres of trails and historic land. What sustainability practices are you putting in place to preserve it for future generations?
Well, great. That's at the forefront of what we'd like to do. We have a property that is about 825 acres, and just under 700 of that is held in conservation easement. So it won't be developed. It's there for our guests and the community to enjoy hiking um, in the established trails, riding horseback, and it sits directly next to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. So our sister property, the Swag, a couple miles away, very similar property and very similar service and style, but it actually has a spot on property where you can walk in and out. And one leg can be on the Great Smoky Mountain National Park and the other on the Swag. Our guests enjoy those hiking and out privileges versus going and parking somewhere and waiting and
Oh, nice.
entering a state park. Um,
That's nice. That's
so we want to conserve that. We want to we want to offer that. We save all trim from the restaurant, and our cattleman utilizes that trim to feed the pigs, the goats that we have. So there's no waste coming out of our kitchen, uh, which is incredible. We have water stations on the property, and we don't promote water bottles. This is something that I think everybody is doing now, but 10 years ago, it was like, oh, there's no plastic water bottle on site. So we're
yeah,
outfitting people with water bottles that are reusable, and there's stations where they can uh, stayed there. We reward ladies and gentlemen for passing on daily service and housekeeping through conservation
Yeah,
and anything else we can do, giving back to the community. We're positioned to do so, and it's part of our DNA.
do you guys, I know you mentioned earlier when you reopened, you did things with the community. Do you guys continue to do community events?
Absolutely. Most recently, we have an old horse trailer that was converted into a food truck, and we call it the Hitch. And so we position that throughout the community. Uh, for instance, most recently at the Pioneer Heritage Festival, celebrating I think it was 250 years of American independence. It was held here in Clyde, North Carolina, the local celebration. So we positioned the food truck there to serve the community. And actually, almost a year ago to the date, Hurricane Helene hit this area and decimated Western North Carolina. Asheville, Waynesville, Maggie Valley, we all felt the impacts of that. And as business leaders in our community, we wanted to give back, and here we are up on the mountain. So we chose to take that food truck down. We parked it right in front of the fire department. And while we closed our property for a little over a week to check in on our team and make sure they had what they needed with power outages and food shortages and road closures and the effects of the storm, our team that was safe and healthy and wanted to work accompanied us at the fire department. We served our Black Angus beef to all of the linesmen and women who came from different states to help get our power grid back up and running. All of the first responders, we stopped by and have a Cataloochee burger on the house. So those are a couple examples of giving back to the community. The proprietors and the owners, donated upwards of $2.5 million to the immediate effects and rebuilding this community and helping with the ongoing rebuilding. And then in October of last year, every dollar we made at the ranch, we matched that dollar for dollar to go towards hurricane relief efforts as well in our community.
Great. Just have a big impact. So, very cool. Um, I forgot to ask you this earlier, but since it's reopening, what kind of guests are you seeing the most? Is it families? Is it individuals, multi-generational groups, or couples?
It's a good mixture of all of that. I'd
Yeah.
say, this ranch has been here for 100 years, but it still is a hidden gem. There's not even a lot of uh, knowledge on the East Coast, and so we're exposing the entire Eastern Seaboard to this product that's been here for 100 years. But for a year and a half since reopening, the majority of who we've seen are the dry market guests from those major metropolises in Charlotte, Atlanta, Greenville, Knoxville, Nashville, and up and down the East Coast, New York to Florida. I'd say there's a good mixture of families that join us and multi-generational stays who, so this is one of the coolest things is if I see 3 generations of people here. Almost a month ago, there was a little boy, probably 8 years old, that caught his first fish in the pond here on property. And while that may seem like such a small thing, it's a core memory that he'll have forever. And his dad was here with him, teaching him how to fish. The coolest thing was his grandpa was here, who taught dad how to fish. Dad caught his first fish here, rode
Oh,
his first horse here. And you see that generational pride in coming to this place and having these really special moments. The cowboy hats we see passed down from generation to generation on the ranch.
that,
So we're primarily leisure guests staying here to get away and experience adventure, but we do host weddings and family reunions and group events too. So
okay.
it's a good mixture of everybody.
Do you see a lot of repeat guests?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A great deal of our guests have stayed with us multiple times now, and it's kind of, at least for me, it's different than a lot of the properties I had worked at, where the discerning traveler is, at least in my career, shifted from the loyalty of one property over and over and over again to wanting to branch out and experience more experiences. It's almost counter to that. We have people that stay here, and I think because of the authentic service that they receive, the recognition, the sense of that they're somebody special, uh, that really paired with the destination here has created a lot of repeat travel. So we're very proud of that.
That's awesome. What can you share about the future growth of the ranch and what plans you guys have for it?
There's a bit of development still taking place on property. As I mentioned earlier, we have 12 more accommodations we're building, but we don't want that footprint to grow much larger than that. We think that's a good amount of people to still be able to deliver service that's up to our standard. We are finishing the completion of a swimming pool, uh, probably by spring of next year. And so a beautiful pool with poolside cabanas, hot tub, infinity view looking out over
Oh,
the Smoky Mountains. So that's a phenomenal piece that we're adding as an amenity to guests on site. We're finishing a riding arena as well, so that leaning more into the horsemanship and uh, working with horses versus just going out on trail rides. So we'll have more roping and more rodeo style events on property. Uh, we just finished the construction of a beautiful indoor golf simulator, a TrackMan golf sim that can play over 500 courses around the world,
that's cool.
which is neat for our guests because we have no intention of building a golf course on this property. We want to conserve it, not turn it into a golf course. So the TrackMan allows our guests that are avid golfers to come and play a course, and we have some reciprocal with those luxury courses in the area as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
but
cool.
development beyond that, is mostly to the team and the internal amenities and perfecting the service that we provide our guests.
What do you think? How do you think people find you? What kind of marketing do you guys do?
There's word of mouth is the primary marketing that happens here. We have
Mhm.
a great following at the Swag, and Cataloochee Ranch has had a great following for about 100 years. So there's guests who have stayed here generationally, and then guests who have stayed with us at the Swag the last 40 something years, they've heard about the ranch opening. They're excited to maybe pair 2 nights at the Swag with 2 nights at the ranch and experience the best of both worlds, or, from peak to peak here in the Smokies. We do traditionally market as well with, Google and with a program called Revinate that produces campaigns based on what people are into, what their interests are. And then, of course, social media and a lot of the non-traditional methods, maybe seeking out influencers or ladies and gentlemen that have a tremendous following of avid horseback riders or adventure-seeking, discerning travelers that want to come here and zip line on the challenge course and throw axes at targets. So
Yeah.
marketing is really intentional and really based on what people show interest in doing while they're here.
Okay. What's been the biggest surprise about leading a mountain ranch since you've come from a different background, I would say, than this style of ranch? What's been the biggest surprise for you?
Great question. And I suppose for me, the biggest surprise is the weather changing up here and the seasonality of Western North Carolina,
Yeah.
and the Asheville area in particular, and where we are in Maggie Valley. There's high seasonality. Winter months are less demand, whereas I thought this beautiful winter wonderland in the mountains. So we're leaning into how we can continue to promote that, and create this as a destination for that. And it's known as a ski town, but there's not a lot of destination, intentionally traveling for our area in the winter months. And so that was a surprise. That's going to take some finesse and some marketing and uh,
Yeah.
some programming amenities.
So you have some downtime during that period where you guys work on different growth tactics in the business and things like that?
Indeed, we will close our property for just about 2 weeks to the public and to overnight guests. And during that time, we focus on our service standards. We do, in our industry, we call it mock services, but that's just essentially, going through the motions and practicing to develop the muscle memory of serving someone from this side of the table and crumbing and refolding a napkin and the greeting when someone arrives here. And so all those little touch points. We're practicing on each other, on families and friends of each other. Uh, we invite a coveted group of travel advisors to stay with us to do a site of our property and provide feedback on service, because these are industry professionals who know exactly what our very discerning guests are looking for, and we invite them to give us that feedback. So we do close to a little bit, focus on initiatives the upcoming year, but really it's heavy on the training for our team.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge in running the mountain ranch?
The biggest challenge of running a mountain ranch is seasonality. The rural environment produces less of a talented group of seasoned luxury hospitality professionals. But this challenge also often is a benefit of ours, because there's individuals who are hungry to do something like this, who are teachable, who haven't got decades of experience, and we can show. And when someone's learning a new skill like this, the the buy-in and the excitement behind learning it, I found, at least in my career, has been greater from somebody who's being freshly exposed to luxury hospitality versus someone who has 20 years of experience doing this. And so that challenge is the staffing. uh, But I think the methods with which we've recruited ladies and gentlemen to join our team, the generational pride of people that work here, whose family worked here and their family worked here, paired with the training that we do here intentionally, has has combated that very well, and produced a place where people really want to work and be a part of.
Right. The other thing I wanted to talk about was technology and how that plays a role in travel tech and the industry. You know, this podcast is about the travel industry. So, what, if any, impact have you seen from technology on your guys' business at Cataloochee? Have you guys implemented anything, or are you considering, or what have you seen in the industry as a whole that has changed things for you guys?
Certainly. There is a tremendous emphasis on technology and AI, not only at our property, but for instance, the Relais Châteaux collection of properties. The Congress this year will be discussing AI technology and tech additions. And I think we've paired really well what our discerning traveler wants, meaning they're used to staying in places where the Wi-Fi speed is equal to or greater than their home, right? They don't want to pay for that sort of thing. I can't imagine a hotel today that would still charge for internet or charge for something. And I know they do, but uh, we we have also made some intentional decisions to remove technology from our property. We pull televisions out of every accommodation. So people that are staying with us, we want to encourage them to disconnect from technology and enjoy flying a kite, fishing in a pond, riding a horse, dining and talking with people versus being on the cell phone. But we
Yeah.
also know that they want to share those experiences and those stories with everyone in that moment for that moment.
Yes.
So we paired those two things really well. There are some pieces of industry technology that we utilize, SMS tech, where people are receiving text messages and the ability to communicate with us via text message. Uh, Different things like this that we've done here, and every decision we make about technology is either how our team or guest experience can be better.
Okay. That makes sense. There's a question that I like to ask everybody on this podcast, but it's like a thought probing question. And it's, if you had a magic wand that you could wave over and solve anything in your ranch, your business right now, what would that be?
Let's see. If I could wave a magic wand, this may not align with it, but for me, having a property where we're continually still developing and still pairing that with an experience for guests, I would wave my magic wand to remove any and all sound from heavy machinery, nail guns, things like that.
Yeah.
That's today, in the moment, for the moment. But I guess on a greater grand scheme of things, it would really be this notion that hospitality workers and ladies and gentlemen who have dedicated their lives to providing a service to others uh, are, are treated and compensated in a way that's very personal, that lets them know they're welcome, valued, and eager to return to this place. I think I would wave a magic wand over investors and individuals who manage and own properties to say these are human beings. Follow suit with what we've done here and
Yeah.
treat them like that. Treat them like they're special and they're the reason that proprietors or groups are in business.
Yeah.
And we see that here. We have incredible ownership, incredible managing director. But I'd say in the history, I think, at least in my experience, there's still properties and luxury properties even out there that define their success by their bottom line gross operating profit or net operating profit to owners versus the experience they were able to provide a human being working there, doing something they love
Yeah. So you guys really pride yourself on making sure that you care for your staff at a high level as well.
at a higher level than I've ever experienced. I mean, the proprietors here purchased homes to put team members into who lost their home in the hurricane and allowed them to do so. We've loaned cars to people. It's a different environment, and it's developed pride, loyalty. When somebody leaves here and is at a restaurant or bar talking with somebody, and they say, "Oh, you work at Cataloochee Ranch," it's my hope and my belief that say, "I do, and I am proud to be there." Uh, and so I think we've done well to create a place that people are really proud of.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. The other question that I always ask the guests towards the end is, what are you most excited about right now? It can be in life, it can be in business, it could be anything.
I am incredibly excited. I'll tell you what, we this might sound silly, but we're hosting a square dance for the first time on property with a Grammy nominated bluegrass musician, the Darren Nicholson Band, and a world champion square dance caller and clogger named Heidi Kulas. And I'll
Oh,
tell you what, I am not a square dancer or have I ever thought that I would be one. Um, but I am really stoked for this. I really want to come and learn how to square dance and be a part of it and provide something special to our community to come up on a date night, have dinner with us, dance. So that's one exciting event that I'm looking forward to.
that's cool. Does the staff get involved in learning these things along with the acts that come out like that?
Yeah, we've had one kind of trial run here, and there weren't enough guests to execute groups of four, and so we called one of our chefs, we called our wine director and sommelier, a few other people that were actually working the event in a catering capacity, and they were there dancing with our guests, having a great time, and so it was this unusual camaraderie that I found really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. It's not necessarily like if you would go to a large property, everything is like very straight and narrow, whereas like you get more of a personal touch and a personal experience, it sounds like at your property where the staff are your become your friends by the end of the stay.
That's it. The
Yeah.
staff become friends, family, uh, and people that keep in touch with. It's unusual, but it's certainly welcome, and it's
Cool.
the way that I envision
Yeah.
boutique luxury hospitality moving towards more and more in the future.
Yeah, I think that really stands out in this world right now. So
Yes, sir.
very cool. No, it was amazing to hear from you. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, Stephen, I'm excited to be on the podcast and share my experience with you. And if there's any way I can be of service to you or any of your listeners, please reach out to me directly. I'd love to take good care of you all.
Awesome. Where can they find you at?
Terry at
Awesome. And I'll put the links down there below in the description as well for them to find. All right, Terry, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks, Stephen. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
All right, you have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too.